Let's face it, the PlayStation 3 is always going to be known for exclusive games. It had a lot of exclusive games, and one of the reasons why they had to do that was because they came out with a very high price point for the PlayStation 3 at first. The Xbox 360 and the Wii really took off and kind of took a big piece of Sony's pie, especially when you look at the PlayStation 2, which recently announced that they sold 160 million of those things, and so they lost a big piece of the market. They had an expensive console. They had a console that was difficult for some third parties to really kind of take use of. And so what they had to do to make up ground was make brilliant exclusives. And, I did a previous video about exclusives on PlayStation 3, and a lot of people commented, oh, you can play this game on PS4, or they remastered this, or remade that. I thought that today I would do a PlayStation 3 exclusive game list where these games are still only on the PlayStation 3 as far as I can tell, and hopefully this will settle down some of the people that like to pipe up and say, oh, well, I can play that game on the PS4 or whatever. It's like, listen, these games are still on the PS3 as the time of making the video. So if you guys enjoy my content, please go ahead and like the video, share it out, and maybe even consider subscribing. I really appreciate each and every one of you as we have surpassed 6,000 subscribers. That's fantastic. Let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to kickstart this off with a very good game, God of War Ascension. I love this game. Yeah, it feels like more of a sort of a continuation of God of War 3, and Sony did get this game out rather fast after God of War 3, but I still feel it tells a very good story. It has all that classic gameplay and fun kind of hack and slash elements that the previous God of War games had, and I think that the story goes a little bit deeper than the other God of War games as well, not counting the newer games obviously on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, because a lot of people enjoy the original style of gameplay for the God of War series, and I do enjoy that as well. I like the new games too, but I also like to kind of point out that it's always fun to go back and play the original God of War games, and God of War Ascension has never made it anywhere else besides the PS3. In fact, I like this game so much that I bought the limited edition, the collector's edition, when it launched, and I still have it. It came with a Kratos statue and a steel bookcase. So yeah, a lot of fun to play. If you enjoy God of War 3 on the PS3, pick up God of War Ascension. It's so much fun and just really more of what you love about the God of War series. And again, exclusive. Can't play this game anywhere else. So next up is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and some of these picks might be controversial, but keep in mind, these are games that are exclusive to PlayStation 3 and aren't available anywhere else. I'm not talking about, emulators or somebody who managed to hack a version for a PC. I'm talking about official releases. And this game has never been officially released anywhere else. I mean, you can play it on the Vita, I believe, but other than that, like the game consoles, it's PlayStation 3. And so I love this game. I like the fact that they went with it and they went kind of big with it, and there's a lot of really, really great characters. A lot of people were maybe a little bit disappointed by the fact that they missed out on some classic characters like Crash Bandicoot and like maybe Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. But overall, I feel like they nailed what they needed to do. It's a fun game. It's a game that I can still pick up and play to this day. I feel like maybe it's even easier than the Smash Brothers games. Yes, that's controversial to say, but I love this game, and I think I put it in another video because I just love it that much, and it doesn't get the shine that it deserves. But Sony was really nailing so many different aspects of exclusive games back on the PS3 that it's easy to kind of love the collection of PlayStation 3 games that are still tied to that platform. So next up is Puppeteer, and I know I've put Puppeteer in a previous PlayStation 3 video. It's just such a fun game, and apparently you can buy this game digitally still, and it's a little bit more expensive to buy it physically. It's such a fun and unique game, and it goes in what I was saying earlier, where you can have a game like PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale that's like this cool fighting game, very much like Smash Brothers, and then you can have something completely unique and fun like Puppeteer that's really almost unlike anything we've ever seen. And normally it wouldn't be something that I'd go into, but this game was just such a breath of fresh air. And I know this game is in everybody's guilty pleasures list or hidden gems list, but honestly, on a list of top PlayStation 3 exclusives that are still in the console. How could you not have this game? Right? I would love an updated version of this game, and I think any game that's on this list, I would, and many others would also like these games to be updated, remastered, whatever the case may be, because a lot of these games are still tied to the PlayStation 3, and even more so that are going to be on this list and past this list. But yeah, I love Puppeteer. I'm sure that you will too if you enjoy kind of what you see with these cool, quirky platformers. Just such a fun game. Next up is Infamous. Yeah, the first Infamous. What a breath of fresh air this was from the team that had previously done like the Sly Cooper games. And I think they really nailed this kind of open world, be your own hero, but you could also be a villain type of video game. And I know I've talked about it before, but this is a game that was so iconic with the PlayStation 3 that the main character, Cole, is also in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, which is really cool. It goes to show how many people really kind of gravitated and enjoyed that character. So it's so weird to me that we've never seen maybe a collection of Infamous 1 and 2 ported or upscaled or remastered or remade or anything like that, because I think that would be epic. But as of this video, this game and the second one are still exclusive to the PlayStation 3, and that's the only place where you can find it. So, you know, when I look at great games that are exclusive to PlayStation 3 and made me excited about owning a PlayStation 3 back in the day, this is definitely one of those games, and it's easy to pick up and play, great story, fun characters, and overall just a fantastic PlayStation 3 exclusive. So my favorite racing game on the PlayStation 3 is Motorstorm Pacific Rift. This reminds me a little bit of the Forza Horizon series on Xbox. I love that series. Very much an arcade type racer, you know, kind of going off-road and all that kind of stuff. If you've never played this game, give it a try. I know some people think the difficulty curve is a little bit high. I personally find it to be, you know, very forgiving in some aspects, and a game that is, especially if you're used to playing these type of games. Now, there's a few Motorstorm games on the PlayStation 3, but Pacific Rift happens to be my personal favorite, and I think it's a lot of people's favorite as well, just because of the really cool locations and the way you can kind of go off-road and things like that. It's a game kind of unlike a traditional racing game, definitely more of an arcade game, but I find that it handles extremely well, and I just have a lot of fun with it. There's some cool physics involved and stuff with that, but again, this game, Motorstorm Pacific Rift, stuck on the PlayStation 3 to this day. Still as fun as ever to play the game, and as you can see, looks absolutely fantastic graphically. It certainly holds up. Yeah, Pacific Rift, Motorstorm Pacific Rift is a great game. So Ratchet & Clank All for One is probably my favorite Ratchet & Clank game on the PlayStation 3, and to the best of my knowledge, it's still on the PlayStation 3 only. Like, they never ported this game to the PlayStation 4 or anywhere else. They did quite a few of these Ratchet & Clank games, and not all of them were great on the PlayStation 3. I believe it or not, and this is not fabricating anything, I think they did at least 5, 6 Ratchet & Clank games on the PlayStation 3, and not all of them were great, mind you, but I find that this one to be a very intriguing and fun entry into the series, and I can see why they kind of rebooted it on the PlayStation 4 with just a reimagining of the first game called Ratchet & Clank, which I love that game, because, you know, they had gone so far with all the different Ratchet & Clank games, and kind of you did this mini trilogy or whatever, so people were maybe afraid to pick up a game and kind of be in the middle of it somewhere. But Ratchet & Clank All for One I find to be a great game on its own, and just a lot of fun. Again, PlayStation 3 had such a variety that you can go from, you know, this great arcade racing franchise to an amazing sort of platformer, and you don't miss a beat. It's just fantastic. Well, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots was clearly going to be on this list. I think I might have had it on my other list as well. There's no other way to officially play this game right now. There's rumors upon rumors that it might get a current generation port at some point. I feel like that would be amazing if it did happen. Honestly, though, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots was such a great experience, and I've mentioned this numerous times, still tied to the PlayStation 3. They updated trophies into the game as well so you can earn them, and it's just a fun game to kind of go back and play in the Metal Gear Solid series, because to me, in my opinion, and I know not everybody will agree with this, but it is a game that honestly kind of stands the test of time, as well as a game that sort of was the last great one in the Metal Gear series as far as I'm concerned. Now, I know people will think that, Phantom Pain or whatever was amazing, and hey, if you think that, that's fine. I like the opening sequence in that game, but overall, I think as an entirety, I like the more straightforward way that Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots plays, and if you've never played it, you definitely need to pick this game up and play it. Still tied to the PS3, still a great exclusive. So, Killzone 2 is a huge reason why a lot of people bought a PlayStation 3. I know it seems weird, but they did this really cool E3 showcase of it, and while the game never really reached those heights, in my opinion, it still reached some pretty fantastic heights, and the game itself was amazing. Like, I love playing through the campaign of this. Obviously, the multiplayer isn't something that you can play these days, but it's still a really, really fun game, and a game that honestly deserves a lot of accolades. I really wish that they would make a new one in the franchise, even if it's not Guerrilla Games doing it. I just feel like, a first-person shooter that's dark and hardcore and mature could really benefit in today's day and age. A lot of people are looking for that. When you think of like core gamers, I think of stuff like Killzone 2, and it's such a fun game. The way it controls, the way that it handles, really good story. Graphically, I think it holds up incredibly well, and I always recommend this game to anybody who is getting into PlayStation gaming or PlayStation 3. Again, still tied to the PlayStation 3, the only official place where you can play this game, and still a fun experience. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is a really fun game, and a game that honestly I think doesn't get enough credit, probably because the company that did the originals, Sucker Punch, they had moved on to Infamous, and so they weren't the ones that actually did this game. But I have to point out that this game is still a phenomenal game, and a game that is just as much fun to play as some of the original ones in the series. And so, give it a try if you haven't already. Again, sort of these stealthy, sneaky platformers can be a lot of fun, and PlayStation had a lot of different variety in the platformers if you think about it. They had stuff like Ratchet Clank, which is more action oriented. This one is more kind of stealth oriented, but the variety was always there. And again, this game completely tied to the PlayStation 3. I double checked and never came to anything else officially. So yeah, if you're into like the Sly Cooper games, maybe you remember them from the PlayStation 2 days, there's this game, and it's a great game. It has a great story, and it's a lot of fun. Looks great, and because of the cell shading, it really holds up graphically as well. So yeah, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, fantastic game. So I didn't put these games in any particular order, but Heavenly Sword at the top of the list in terms of just how this video happened to kind of roll out when I was putting it together. But it's definitely one of the ones that is up there for me personally. I know it's more looked at as kind of an average game, but I had a lot of fun with it. I think Ninja Theory really did a good job with it, and you don't see stuff like this all the time anymore, and that's one of the things that I think I miss about that era. And like I said, the variety was there. You have like a stealthy platformer, and then you go into sort of a hack and slash game with a strong protagonist, and again, that just goes to show that Sony really had a lot of cool things going on the PlayStation 3, and why so many people gravitated towards it later on in the generation. I mean, yeah, the PlayStation 3 maybe started slow and rough, but thanks to games that accrued over time, I know Heavenly Sword was more earlier release, but it was thanks to so many great releases. And even though this isn't a first-party game, still exclusive to the PlayStation 3, and still a ton of fun to play. If you haven't picked it up lately, or if you've never played it, give it a try. So there's a pretty good list of 10 PlayStation 3 exclusives that are all still exclusive. So I guess we can avoid all the comments that are like, hey, I played that on a Wonder Swan back in the day. No. These games have not officially been released anywhere else. They're PlayStation 3 exclusives. And I think, there's even more that I could have got into. I probably could have did a video with a lot more than this, but these are ones just kind of off the top of my head that are exclusive. Obviously, you're going to go, where's The Last of Us? I mean, they remade The Last of Us for the PS5. They remastered it on PS4. Same thing with the Uncharted games. Great games to own for PlayStation 3 for, but that have been remastered in the past. So I wanted to stick to games that were still exclusively tied to the PlayStation 3. So let me know some of your favorites. Maybe the Resistance games, something else, maybe something I missed. Sound off down below. Please remember to subscribe. Please remember to like, and I'll catch you guys next time, and remember to have fun gaming.